So in the 75 plus year history of the British Columbia Football Conference, we've had loads of players come and go through the program, but 2022 will be a first, as for the first time ever, the conference will see a female player suiting up, as Joran Vearer is going to be playing on the offensive line for the Vancouver Island Raiders. And we've got Jordan with us for our first player spotlight of the year. Thanks for doing this, Jordan.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's funny, I said player spotlight because that's what we call these. You are going to be under the spotlight this year, as you know.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about Jordan, how you came to, why football, where you played football before. I know we talked a little bit, but tell everybody what your experience is with this game.
Yeah. Basically, like most of the sports I played my whole life. Started in like elementary school, and then got to my first year of high school, and I had a bunch of friends who were in a local football team. And just for some reason out of nowhere, decided that I was interested in playing. Happened to mention it in front of the right friend, and he said, "Hey, why don't you come play for my team? Look, we're looking for players." Like, I was like, "What is it, like a mixed team, whatever?" And he's like, "Well, technically, but you'd be the only girl making it mixed." And I was like, okay. So went out to a couple practices, went to see how it was, and really liked the team, really liked the sport. So kind of just fell into it from there and just kept going.
And you said you play other sports as well. You've mentioned volleyball and you play rugby, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So I've always thought, I've never played rugby, but I always, the analogy I've heard is rugby is a contact sport, but football's a collision sport. Fair analogy, do you think?
Yeah. That there's definitely a big difference in the type of contact. And I know for a fact that if you tell a rugby player or a football player that the two sports are similar, you're going to get an earful. But yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good sentiment.
So I'm a dad of daughters, and I'm all about women power, girl power. I think women should be ruling the world, but I would be scared to death of my girls playing football. Did you deal with that with your family, and like how did they react to it?
I mean, you're playing a high level contact sport. Like there's a risk of injury whether you're a girl or a guy. So there's obviously a bit of concern there, but like it's about playing. If you play right, then you can play safely. So I've been in contact sports. I've been in high risk sports my whole life. So it wasn't a huge deal for my parents or for me. And there was some concern from just kind of general people that I talked to about like, oh, well, aren't you worried you're going to get seriously hurt or you're going to take one to the head? And it's like, well, yeah, but so is every single football player. That's just the reality of stepping on the field. Is you understand that there's a certain level of risk and you do everything you can to minimize the risks with like proper equipment and proper technique. But it's a manageable amount of risk to be out there when you love the sport.
It's funny, when I talked to your general manager, Josh Williams, I'd asked him that question because I saw in the newspaper article that he said you very much held your own, and knowing Josh as I do, you wouldn't be there if you weren't legit. And Curtis, your head coach, you wouldn't be there if you weren't legit, for lack of a better word. But he said something to me. I asked him, I said, okay, what about the strength? Like, this is junior football. This isn't high school anymore. And Josh said, he should probably be playing on the O-line, and that's the most technical of positions. He said, hey, Blake, if you're outmatched physically, smart football player on the O-line can chop somebody, et cetera, and you can overcome the strength issue that you're going to be lacking. Fair?
Yeah, and I mean that's the same for any player, right? Like there's plenty of guys out there that I'm about twice the size of, and not necessarily on the O-line, but I'm stepping out into that field. Honestly, like I've heard that every year is, oh, well, this isn't like little peewee football anymore. Okay, this isn't bantam football anymore. This isn't midget football anymore. And it's the same concerns every year, is that the guys are getting bigger and bigger, but I've been in the gym, I've been working, and I'm getting bigger and bigger too. And it's not, I don't step out on the field and feel outmatched completely. Like, yeah, there's older guys, there's guys who have more skill. I'm still a rookie, but it's not as big of a difference as I think a lot of people make it out to be in the beginning.
So now the physical, everything you say is 100% accurate, but physically, as you get older, like that, just even for a male high school football player, you go from high school or midget to junior, it's another step up. Everybody's bigger, faster. Did you think about, how did you come to the decision to play junior?
Um, well, honestly, I was supposed to be overseas this year going to university. Um, and with COVID, everything kind of fell through. And all these plans that I had for what my life was going to look like after graduation and what I was continuing with kind of fell apart really, really quickly. And so when the season came up, I was like, you know what? I'm going to be around. Um, I've got friends trying out. Like, why? Like, what am I losing by going to the tryout and seeing what it's like? And the reality was, I might not make the team. I might not end up playing at this level, and I'll go find something else to do. But you know, you don't get a chance if you don't try, right? It's up to the coaches to determine if you have the right skill level, if you have the right physical ability to make it in this league. So I honestly just thought, go up. What's the worst that can happen? I don't make the team and I go back find something else to do, and I ended up making the team, and now I get this awesome opportunity to play at such a high level of sport. So to me, there was nothing to lose.
It, it's funny, in talking again to Josh, we talked about the fact that there's no women's football in the province. Like the opportunities to play women's football on the prairies is there. Um, but Josh's thought was, and I know we talked to you about the women's national team. His goal, or he hopes it's your goal. It's his goal for you is that he wants you to take a shot, and he wants the Raiders to help you get there. Was that something you had thought about before, and are you thinking about it now after talking to Josh?
I mean, it's something that's now kind of popped into my head. Like being raised as a rugby player, that was kind of always where I thought I'd see myself kind of continuing and trying to make the next level of sport. But I mean, for now, I'm kind of just focused on the season ahead of me with the Raiders and becoming a part of a new team in this new league. And whatever happens after that, I'm kind of just looking to go with the flow and see where my skills and see where these opportunities can take me. But it's definitely a new, interesting path that I'd never thought of before.
What's the reception been like? Positive, negative, without throwing your teammates under the bus? If somebody's been difficult, have you gotten those looks like what she doing here, or what's that?
Um, no, not really. I mean, I like the team was all super accepting. Obviously, word traveled pretty fast once I got to gear up that there was going to be a girl trying out the team. But no, the guys were all super welcoming. The Raiders have a great culture, and so like even just at the camp, like I just kind of felt like one of the players. I had one guy come up to me afterwards, and he was like, "Got to be honest with you, like." Saw you standing, he was a D lineman. Saw you standing across, like, he's like, the hell is the chick doing across from me on the low line? And he just went, quality, I'm gonna hit her as hard as I possibly can. So I mean, it's not completely out there. It doesn't take them too long to grasp. So I guess I'm sure there's some people who first saw me out there were kind of taken a bit aback, but nothing that, no negative experiences, nothing really that I've had to complain about with this team so far.
You probably, things have changed so much. And I asked Josh about this again, 15, 20 years ago when he played, how would he feel about a female? And he said, yeah, different time. He says, we're now young men are it's just the way world is going and the opportunities there. And we've evolved, for lack of a better word.
Yeah. And, yeah, I've grown up playing sports with guys my whole life. Like playing rugby, even when I first started, it was very much kind of a man's sport down here in Victoria. So I grew up playing on guys' teams, playing with the guys. I played baseball with guys growing up as a kid. So it's just it to me it's a very like it's a very normal place to be in. I don't feel out of place being in a kind of male dominated team or a male dominated sport. And I think that that comes through. And once I realize I'm just there to play, I'm not there to be a stunt. Basically, I'm there to be a player and help out the team as best I can. It doesn't take them long to see me as another one of the players.
So you're not a stunt, as Josh said. You're a legitimate football player. You did very well at spring camp, but you've got to be aware you're a pioneer. Like, I don't know if you thought about that. I mean, there are going to be eyes on you, and you're the first of more to come. Do you think about that?
Yeah, to be perfectly honest, going into the camp, I didn't realize it was such a big deal. Like I was going on, like I understood that there probably wasn't too many girls involved in the leagues. There wasn't too many girls involved in the league that I came from. But I had no idea that I was the first in BC or the second in the CJFL. I was just going up to play football, and then Coach Curtis approached me. He's like, "Look, this is gonna be a big deal." He's like, are you ready for that? And I was like, well, I want to play football, so I guess I better be.
We talked to any of the other ladies that have played the Hilltops last year. I know there's a female playing for the UBC Thunderbirds, unless I'm mistaken as well.
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, I haven't. Everything's just been happening really, really quick. I've been pretty focused on, getting all my gear together, finding a place to live up in Nanaimo. But when the first year that I ever played football, my coach brought in a woman that I, for the life of me, can't remember her name because it was 6 years ago, 5, 6 years ago. But she had played semi-pro, I believe, in Ontario as a lineman, and he brought her in to help coach our team for half the year, basically just to show me that, like, look, I know you're young now, but you do have a future in football if you want it. Um, so that was a really awesome experience for me, was seeing that, like, it isn't such it's yes, it's not common, but it's not such an oddity, or it's not a crazy idea to think myself going this far in this league.
So this isn't a brand new thought to you for sure. So one question, I ran this one by you because I wasn't sure how to ask this one, but some people will wonder the whole dressing room thing. Has the team addressed it now? Like, how will this work?
I mean, typically in the past, it'll depend on the venue. So if there's multiple change rooms, usually I'll get a change room to myself, and then just join with the guys when it's the team meeting time, or I'll come to games pre-dressed. We travel, like I've gone to some pretty like tiny little fields where they've got a change room about about as big as a small garden shed for the whole team.
You're describing the Raiders' old changing room.
Yeah, yeah. So like we always make it work. So either like I'll go in first, because the guys take 8 million years to get changed, no matter what's going on. Or if there's a women's washroom nearby, I'll stop in there. Or if there's a clubhouse nearby, it's just something that you just kind of get used to managing. You find wherever you need to, you get changed, then you get ready for the game.
So last question, Jordan. You've got a gender neutral name. I understand you being a female was a complete surprise until the very last minute. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So I mean, when you fill out the online form, obviously not expecting females to be applying. So there's no question like, oh, what's your gender? What do you identify as? So I knew pretty well going up there that they wouldn't have any idea that I was a girl. And I thought I could contact the coaches and be like, hey, heads up. But again, to me, I don't see myself as an audience. I see myself as another player. So I didn't think it would be a big deal. So I went up there, went to gear up Saturday morning, and got to, okay, young fella, like, come over, you're next. And went to size me up and went, oh, you're a young lady, aren't you? It's like, yes, sir. And from there on, like, when I got to the field, they had a separate change room blocked off for me, and they were somehow in the half hour from gearing up to getting to the field, they'd word had spread and everyone was prepared. But yeah, it's definitely a situation that I run into quite often, and to me, it's just entertaining.
Well, fair to say the Raiders handled everything exactly the way they should have. Although, probably you're now the second female in 2 years. It's probably time for the CJFL to update their registration forms. I would think.
Oh yeah, I'd agree, but
Listen,
wasn't too big of a deal. It wasn't a problem for me.
yeah, we can just add the W in there. So,
Yeah.
listen, Jordan, thanks for doing this. And I'm really looking forward to this year. And last question: goals. Do you? I know you said, if you make the team, great. If not, no big deal. You tried, but now that you are all but on the roster, have you thought? What do you have any expectations this year? Anything you'd like to accomplish?
Um, I want to win. I want to see. I think the team's really special this year. Like just from camp, everyone looks really strong. There's a great sense of community and culture within a team, which, from my experience, is one of the biggest determining factors in how well you can play. Is if you have each other's backs. I mean, obviously, I want to develop my skills and I want to step my own game up to the next level so that I'm an asset to the team. I'm not just another player. I want to improve and I want to help out. But I'm excited to see the team make some waves in the league.
Well, just the fact that you're on the team, and after you've explained how the Raiders handled this, there's probably going to be a few people at the BCFC that maybe didn't have a team that they're rooting for. You've probably created some VI Raider fans out there. So
Hope so.
thanks a lot again for doing this, Jordan. Look forward to meeting you, and good luck this year, Raiders.
Yeah, thank you very much.